Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home.
Welcome, everybody, to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive, and you're just going to love my guest today. I mean, I love her. You'll love her if you don't know her yet, and you'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot about your body, our bodies, our aging bodies, how to stay strong, how to be powerfully aging today and in the many years to come. All right. So first of all, hey, welcome. If you're here at the Heal Your Hunger Show for the first time, welcome, welcome. This is where we hang out and talk about topics that are very, very pertinent to emotional eaters. And that can go into many different subjects. It's not just about weight. It's not just about food. It's not just about exercise. In fact, those are the things we talk about least. It's much more about emotions, about how we relate as emotional eaters to situations in our life, how to deal with life on life's terms without turning to food, how to really get underneath why we crave, what that's about, what the emotional causes of cravings and compulsion to eat are. So much to talk about. And if you don't know if you're an emotional eater, I really, really urge you to go to healyourhunger.com and take the quiz. It's a quiz on my website, free, takes 3 minutes to take, and it will tell you if you're an emotional eater or a food addict, or maybe somewhere on that spectrum, because I believe it's a spectrum. You'll get a personalized score for where you sit on that spectrum and then next steps. So definitely take that quiz, get your score. Find out if you're an emotional eater or possibly a food addict. Of course, that's where I was. All food addicts are emotional eaters. Not all emotional eaters are food addicts. Okay. So of course, I hit both bells. And, having been a total binge eater, out of control eater, 50 pounds overweight on account of my out of control eating. Yeah. So find out because then you're more informed and then you know what tack you want to take for your healing journey. And also join us in the Secret Sauce group. This is a great first step for you on Facebook. Go to the Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating. Join us there. That way we can start connecting, having community with other emotional eaters. I pop in there with great offers that only you get, exclusive offers for you, or first in line for exclusive offers. And we'd love to be able to just start a conversation that's deeper. That's not all about food and weight, but much more about healing at a deeper level. So on with the show. My guest is somebody who's been in my life for many years because she was a business coach of mine for several years. But way before that, she's just somebody I looked up to. She's got great philosophy, a great attitude, super positive. She's a triple board certified nutrition expert and fitness hall of famer. Her name's JJ Virgin, and she's a passionate advocate of the healing power of nutrition. And she's on a mission to change the way the world sees aging and longevity. She has launched 3 multi-million-dollar businesses. She's been on every, bit of media out there. Once upon a time, Dr. Phil, Freaky Eaters. She's done a lot of interesting things, but really she is a health influencer, and she's come out with several New York Times bestselling books like The Virgin Diet, The Sugar Impact Diet. She's working on her latest book right now. She's fun to listen to. She's super knowledgeable. I mean, that's an understatement. And she's relatable. And because she's somebody who is passionate about health, but knows about the struggle, I'm sure you'll enjoy her. On with the show. Well, JJ, welcome. Awesome to have you back to the show.
It is really kind of funny that we have to do this just to catch up.
Yep. Little silly, but that's what we're doing. And it's great. I have the books that I have of yours minus, I think, the Virgin Diet. So I have your Miracle Mindset book. I have your Virgin Diet cookbook. I have your Sugar Impact Diet, which of course is close to my heart because I do the Quit Sugar Challenge, on an annual basis and semi-annual actually. And I'm just all about cleaning up one's diet and getting rid of foods, especially being an emotional eating expert, foods that trigger one to continue eating, to binge eat, the most bingeable, triggerable foods. Which sugar is it?
Yes. I will tell you that what I'm focused on now is kind of makes a lot of that so easy.
Good. I love it.
Yes.
Well, I wasn't really going to focus on those books. I just wanted to say that I'm a fan. And for those who don't know, she's been an important part of my life, not only because of what she teaches, but especially because of the coaching that I've received from you, JJ, for which I am eternally grateful, because I don't know, Heal Your Hunger would have happened without you being in my life and all that you teach. So thank you for that. Yeah. So I'd love for you, first of all, to give me kind of an encapsulation of who you are in the world as a health influencer and what you stand for, because you have evolved, but they're all pieces of the puzzle.
They have evolved. And I will tell you, so here's the interesting thing. So a lot of it has to do with where I am now in my life. And when my first big step out into the world, I mean, I did a lot of TV for years, reality TV, forgive me for all that stuff, but it was fun. A lot of work. But then in the middle of all of that, I discovered what I call food intolerance. And what I discovered in teaching doctors how to use a food sensitivity test in their practices is that for a lot of people, they were eating what they thought were healthy foods, but they weren't healthy for them. They weren't working for them, and they were creating inflammation, cravings, weight loss resistance. And when I discovered that and discovered how easy it was to figure that out and turn it around and figure out which foods work for you and which foods don't, that was really the birth of the Virgin Diet. So I had these big goals, big dreams. This was 12 years ago for what I wanted that book to do. And it was all around turning 50. And this is what gets interesting, all around turning 50. Okay, by 50, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And I've made my mark. And it all happened, which was super cool. And then I didn't know what to do. Then you're like, this is amazing. I've helped like million plus people with this. And like, I've made my mark, and now what? And I kind of just have been doing things, but I didn't have that big vision and that big purpose and that big drive that I'd had before. And it's not, boo-hoo, poor me. It was like, everything's great, but I felt like my calling was kind of fuzzy. And then it's now fast forward, and I'm, 6 months away from turning 60. And I kind of realized at that point, as I'm getting ready to turn 60, I'm like, I didn't feel the same level of enthusiasm that I did when I was turning 50. And I was kind of going, and I was starting to hear all this stuff about how you lose muscle, how your VO2, like all this not good stuff. Like there wasn't anything I heard about like, oh, you're going to turn 60 and, the clouds are going to part, the sun's coming out, like diamonds will drop for you. No, it was none of that. And fortunately, I was talking to Dr. Mark Hyman, and he goes, people who are positive about aging live 7.5 years longer than people who don't.
Wow.
And I went, okay, well, that sounds like an easy enough thing to adopt. And it made me think back to when I was on Dr. Phil. He would always talk about how you can't be, you got to think of your get real weight, right? And you can't be what you were back in high school. And I thought, well, what if? Because I always like to throw out these ridiculous goals. I don't want to throw out a little like, oh, easy peasy. Like, what's the big stretch goal? What if I could be in the best shape, the healthiest, the fittest, the happiest in my 60s? That would set me up for great times in my 70s, 80s, 90s, than all the years before. What if I could do that? Even though all the stuff you're hearing of aging gracefully and what you should and shouldn't wear and how long your hair should be and all this garbage, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I decided. I went, okay, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life at 60. That's it. And I'm also going to wear things that they say you shouldn't wear. I'm going to do that too.
Yeah.
Those dresses that I was like, oh, I can't wear that anymore unless I'm in Miami. I'm like, no, I can wear that if I want. Anyway, so that's what I did. And I literally took my husband and I went and got DEXA scans. My DEXA scan, actually, it was interesting. It was the exact same, my body composition, weight, muscle mass, everything, as when I was 39, at 59, which is super cool.
Will you explain what a DEXA scan is?
So a DEXA scan is something we've used for years for bone mineral density. And that's where people will know about it. And big takeaway here is we should be looking at this when you're in your teens to start with, not when you're 60. But we looked at it for bone mineral density. Bone mineral density is a lagging indicator of not enough muscle mass. By the time your bone mineral density sucks, there's a whole lot of stuff that hasn't been working well for a while. If you fix your bone mineral density and you've got good hormone balance, you will have, or if you fix your muscle mass, you will have good bone mineral density. So I look at those numbers. I know where I was in my 20s and I just go game on. And what I focused on, and it's funny, even to go do that DEXA scan first, I actually increased my calories a little bit and pushed the weights more and put on a little bit of weight. And then I had a whole mental thing of like, you're gaining weight. And I was like, you're gaining muscle, breathe, right?
Don't
And
panic.
breathe. And it's like, it's just the silly stuff. It's why it's so important for us to understand what your weight's made up of and to really start to focus. I started doing this in my 20s when I was a personal trainer. I would always focus on putting on muscle because I knew that if I focused on putting on muscle and getting good sleep and having people, move more, that everything else would take care of itself. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I set out to go, okay, how do I get into my fittest shape now? Knowing that if left unchecked, and that's the important caveat, because we now know, and when I was in doctoral school at USC and it was exercise science, it was exercise physiology, nutrition, and aging. And we had 80s and 90-year-old master athletes who could take both of us out. I was like, wow, you're my heroes. So I knew what was possible. And I went, all right, we keep hearing how starting at age 30, we're starting to lose 3 to 8% of our muscle mass a decade. Then at 40, it's like up to 1%. But the bigger piece is we're losing our 2 to 4% of our strength and 6 to 8% of our power because we're losing fast twitch muscle fibers. I go, all right, I am just going to completely focus on working so that doesn't happen. I started going to these HIIT classes and I joke because you know how they say you don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room?
Yeah.
I also say I don't want to be the youngest person in the room. For a while, we were going to a yoga class at LA Fitness, and I thought I was really great because I was like the youngest person in the room. And I was like, okay, I'm going to a yoga class with like 80-year-old men and thinking I'm a yogi, but it's like really because for them, like, getting up and down off the floor is a big deal. And I'm sitting here thinking I'm so good because I can balance in Warrior 3. So I started going to a class where Tim and I could literally have given birth to anyone in the class, maybe even their kids too, so that's what I started to focus on is how do I push myself and how do I not accept the narrative, oh, you're just getting older, so you shouldn't do those things.
Mm-hmm.
And what if you're getting older, so it's even more reason to do those things?
Yeah.
That your why is your why not, right? I don't know if you've heard about this thing about aging out of your house and how they're talking about people 50 plus that are getting their houses, not to downsize because of money, but to get single floor houses.
Oh, yeah.
I think, what we should do, like my mom passed away at 93. And up until a couple months before she passed away, she actually was doing it right up until she passed away. But I was like, I'm taking your car keys away because she was also driving on the sidewalk. However, she was doing all her grocery shopping. She was golfing. She was going up and down the stairs because the way her house, you always had to go upstairs to get into the house. She was super active, walking every day,
Love it.
right? I mean, you could tell.
Yep.
So what if we said, okay, as you age, you're going to use lower toilets. So you really have to do a deep squat. You'll have 3 levels of house with the bathroom at the bottom and the kitchen at the top,
Great exercise.
Right?
Yeah. You don't even have to go out to the gym.
No, your house became your gym because you're running up the stairs and doing all the work. So that's what I focused on. And literally, I started doing DEXAs every 6 months. And DEXAs are great because they show they right now in everything that you look at, unless they do an autopsy on you, which at that point, what's the point, is going to be a predictive. But this is a great way to see not only your bone mineral density, but also your skeletal muscle mass, where it is, how even it is, your body fat, where it is, if it's what's called visceral adipose tissue, which is that fat around your organs, which is the dangerous fat. And then you can actually see if you're making a change with what you're doing. Is the type of exercise you're doing working? Is stress causing some issues with laying down, say, visceral adipose tissue? What's going on? Are you getting enough protein in? All of those types of things. And so basically, here's the bigger one that happened. I dropped down. I'm literally in the best shape I've ever been in, lifting more, running more. Do you know, Tricia, that apparently starting at age 30, only 1% of us will ever sprint again?
At age 30? Starting at age 30? That's crazy.
At age 30. So I bought a sprint treadmill. That was my 60th birthday present, was a sprint treadmill, because I was like, okay, I know I've had a knee and hip replacement from my ballet injury at 17, but I can sprint on this treadmill because of the way it's set up. It's self-propelled and softer on your joints.
That sounds dangerous. I would totally mess that up and wipe out. I can barely handle like a walk on a treadmill.
But that's why you should do it. Well, I'll tell you, when I first started, we went to that HIIT class, and I had no idea what we were getting into. And we're walking in the door, and the people who run this place we go called Camp Tampa, which is these 4 big houses, and one's yoga, which we were always going to. And they're like, "You're the yoga couple. Are you sure you want to go to this?" And Tim's looking at them like, "Get out of the way." He's super competitive. And so the first time on a sprint treadmill, believe me, I was holding on for dear life. And I was like going, 5 miles an hour. But it's taken a while, but I'm now very confident to be able to run on a sprint treadmill with no hands-free, which in life, you have to be hands-free, right? Like,
sounds like an amazing workout.
Well, think about it. You're walking around, like, you got to get out of the way of something. You're not going to have guardrails.
Yeah, no, it sounds really good mentally too. Like the focus, like you don't want to distract you. You don't want to check a text or anything.
Right. You can't. You would.
No.
But the other thing is, when you think about this, so I started really look at, all right, you start to look at 60s, 70s, 80s, and what do I want to be able to be doing? And you'll hear all this aging gracefully. And to me, that brings up ideas of like women in the 50s with an apron on. I don't know, wearing sensible shoes. And I thought, I don't want to age gracefully. Forget aging gracefully. I want to age powerfully. And when I say that, is I started to talk about how much we need to be putting on muscle, which I started lifting weights when I was 16 at the high school football gym. But, it's the great thing is that any time in your life, you can build muscle. 90 years old, you can build muscle. But as I'm starting to talk about this, the biggest thing I'm hearing from women is, I don't want to get big. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, in 40 years of working with people, have never had someone get bigger lifting weights.
Okay.
They get tighter and smaller, because muscle is metabolic spanks. It's just never happened. But then I thought of something else, Tricia. Because, I'm talking about aging powerfully because as we age, we lose those type 2 muscle fibers. Those are our power fibers. Those are what let us, sprint, jump, all the important things that you start to stop doing as you age, which if you don't do them, guess what? The less you do, the less you can do. But I thought, okay, I'm sitting here telling you, you're not going to build, don't worry, you're not going to get big muscles, like blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, wait a minute. We women have been trying to get smaller our whole lives. And I know as a 6 foot tall woman, and people say, "You're so big." And I'm like, no, I'm tall. Like the last thing you as a woman ever want someone to say is you're big.
Right.
And I thought, you know what? Like enough is enough. We've been trying to shrink, be the good girl, play small our whole lives. If we don't go for it now and get big, get powerful, when are we going to do it? Like what? When we're 90?
Right.
No, it's time. Like get big.
Yeah, go big or go home, right?
Right? Yes.
That's great. So I love the evolution you're talking about and the aging, obviously aging in a way that is powerful. I love that. So what are some of the things that are most important for that? I mean, obviously my audience does struggle with weight. I know you've helped people with weight for years. And so it's an important thing. Like, I'm not sure if somebody's overweight and they're getting stronger, they're going to the gym or they're, doing some kind of exercise that's toning them, right? Building muscle.
What does that mean? What does toning mean?
Well, to me, I'm not, I hope you're going to tell me. I mean, I do bar method. So bar method's my choice of exercise and it helps me because it feels loving to my body. I feel stronger. I have more stamina, but I do some cardio, not a ton of cardio, but I feel strong is the bottom line, is I feel strong. So I think toning is a good core. To me, it's a good core and it's strong and it's stamina.
So I'm going to give you a couple things to look at. And the first thing that I'm going to say is, let's stop even the framework of struggling with our weight. Let's instead, because no one would ever say, I'm struggling with my blood sugar. I'm struggling with my, I'm a bad person. My blood pressure was up yesterday. I'm a bad person. My blood sugar spiked. No one says that. But yet we sit there and decide if we're good or bad. It was a good or bad day, for our self-worth.
Good foods, bad foods.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like,
Part of the diet culture.
it's so instead of that, if we started to look at a scale differently, like in my perfect world, if I was the benevolent dictator of the world, we would not have scales. We would only be able to do
Amen.
body composition. But we would do body composition because we want to make sure that we are so focused on, and this is like, we're so focused on building muscle. And I'll give you a great metaphor. If you want to be able to live and do the things you want to do in your 70s, 80s, 90s, and we assume your health is fabulous, what's the next thing you'll need? Not a trick question. So I've got my
Longevity.
health,
Okay.
but I'm living in Santa Monica on the grass next to the bathrooms in a tent because I have no money.
Energy?
No, you need money. You need
money. Oh, because you have no
Okay.
money.
You have no money. So let's assume you have your health. What's the thing that we know that in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, we want to be doing? We want to be saving for retirement so that we have this money that we can start to use.
Right.
Muscle's exactly the same. You
Okay.
need to be saving for retirement. And so how do we know if we are? You use a body composition scale that shows you, because a scale won't tell you this. I was super thrilled to see that my weight was the same at 39 and 59, that what my weight was made up of was the same, because the majority of people, their weight might be the same, but what it's made up of is entirely different. My husband went to get the DEXA and we discovered that he was a skinny fat, that he was 25% body fat. I'm happy to say in less than a year, we got him down to 10%. He dropped 27 pounds of fat and put on 24 pounds of muscle, but he would not have known. I mean, visually, he looks amazing now. He's never looked like this, but visually he just looked a little soft, but you would never have gone, oh my gosh, right? But the scale told us that because we were using a body composition scale, and then we could monitor his progress. We didn't get on there and go, oh my gosh, you're a bad person. No, we were like, okay, we need to let's look at putting on more muscle. How do we do that? Right. And so I just feel like if we had this reframe where the focus was putting on more muscle, because I know that if your focus is putting on muscle, there's two things that you need to do for activity that will massively change everything else. And so one of them, of course, is creating the tension, the volume of training to build muscle. And that's why I'm going to talk to you about bar method, some other things. And the other one is eating protein. And I like to say eating protein first, because what I've seen by doing, I have a simple eat protein first challenge. I take people through, and in 7 days, cravings are gone. They're full. And I know that when I used to eat this high carb, low fat, low protein diet back in the, 80s, when that was what we did,
Right.
I thought about food all the time. I ate all day long. It was like frozen yogurt, then, fat-free muffins. It was just like a disaster. It was a blood sugar disaster, but I was always craving.
Mm-hmm.
You start with protein, you're full. You've got satiation. It's what the GLP-1 agonists do, right? And you don't have the cravings.
And do you mean start with protein literally, like they used to tell us to start with fruit, kind of digest quickly? So you're literally, the first thing you're eating is protein of a meal.
Yep.
And without other things.
Eat that first. You know why? Because now that I've been 40 years of doing this, but I'm sick of people telling me I didn't eat the protein because I got too full. You got too full because you ate an arugula salad, which had about 5 calories of arugula. Then it had dried fruit, glazed nuts, and raspberry vinaigrette. So you had a sundae. Then you had some bread. Then and you were full, but you didn't get any of your protein in. So if we just started, and then you're hungry like an hour later. If we just start by eating that chicken breast, eating that salmon first, then go ahead and eat your non-starchy vegetables next. And then maybe have a little bit of fruit, and we'll see if you even get past that, because you'll be full.
Love that.
Right? It makes it simple. So if you look at what you would need to do to hold on to, or better yet, build muscle, because for most of us, if we're looking at being able to do great things in our 70s, 80s, and 90s, we need the money. And so we wouldn't think, I just want to hold on to the money I have now. You're looking at, no, how do I grow that? Right? Same with your muscle. How do I grow that? I've never had in 40 years a woman go, I got too big. Because first of all, you can always stop. But second of all, like it's really hard to get a lot of muscle on, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So it's not just the protein, it's also the workout. And it's really easy to fall into a rut with a workout where you really like it. You do the same thing, your body adapts, and you're not going to continue to progress.
You're not challenged.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that happening with bar method. I assume that's where you're going with that.
I mean, bar method's like, what a great thing as part of your routine.
Yeah.
When you look at, what do we know in terms of overall health is some of the most important things we can look at. The number one determinant of like your overall health, your risk of death, all-cause mortality, and how well you age is, do you know what it is?
No.
It's something called VO2 max. It's how hard can you go? Like if you were going to get on a treadmill or you were on a bike, what's the all out you could go? How much oxygen could you consume? And it's a really brutal test, but apparently now the DEXA scan's got a predictor on it so that you don't have to do the terrible test to tell you this average. And a lot of things will help improve your VO2 max. So that's the good news. Like bar method, I'm sure will help. Resistance training helps. Running helps. All these things help. But the other thing that's important is your muscular strength. That would be looking at like a proxy of your grip strength using a hand grip dynamometer or push-ups. In fact, they've got really good correlations now between the number of push-ups you can do and your all-cause mortality. And so that's what I would ask you, like when you're doing bar method, how are you with push-ups?
Yeah, well, I kind of do the girl ones.
So, and here's the thing, like
I know I should do the other ones, but a lot of times I wuss out and do the girl ones where I'm on my knee. I do my knees. I'm not.
Oh, I know what the girl
body.
ones. But do you have to? Could you do start on your toes
No,
and then drop?
I know I can do that. Yesterday I did the real ones only for a short time though.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Then you do a little more and you do a little more. That's what's so great about this is you just continue to get stronger.
Yeah.
I'm
amazed.
Push-ups and pull-ups.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Pull-ups. Yeah. I haven't touched those, but I am amazed at the stamina I have because it is, bar method's so slight. There's slight movements and I like it because I'm not like working. I don't feel like I'm working out. I do it at the end of the day where I throw off stress. So it just feels nurturing to me, which, when I beat myself up with diets, and exercise in the long ago, my disordered eating days, I want something that feels nurturing, but my partner, he plays ultimate frisbee on the beach. So he runs like he has amazing strength because he runs on.
Well, that's not strength. That's more power cardio burst training. It's different than like say doing squats or push-ups. They're different.
Well, the interesting thing is that I tend to have more stamina to that when we're skiing or hiking or whatever. He tends to wuss out before I do. And he's always like, it's clearly doing something for you because you have a lot of stamina. And I just think that's kind of interesting. I didn't know it, but comparatively
well, they're
speaking,
different. I can tell you why.
Okay. I want to hear it.
So we have different energy systems in our body, the way that we do things. When you're doing, when you're going and you really want to develop all out power, which is what ultimate frisbee is, how quickly can you go grab something? The energy systems you use are something called creatine phosphate and glycogen. So you're doing fast, all out stuff. When you're doing more endurance, it's more use of fat, and it's more slow twitch. So that's more fast twitch, quick bursts. Yours is more slow twitch, longer endurance. Whatever you train for is what your body's better at. So you take a sprinter and have them run a marathon, they're not going to do so well, right? Right. So whatever you train for, the thing is, you actually, as you age, want to do all of the things. Like you want to incorporate balance, stability, and flexibility. You want to create strength. You want to have cardiovascular endurance, and you want to have power. You want to do all the things. But you actually, if you had to focus, would focus most on your fast twitch, because as we age, that's what we lose the most of.
So fast twitch. That sounds strange.
So there's two types of muscle fibers. And what's interesting is so for skeletal muscle, we have something called slow twitch and fast twitch. Slow twitch are really more of your endurance muscles. They're the things that help you if you're standing, stay upright, like the erector spinae of your backs that help you stay up, right? If those got fatigued quickly, we'd be like on the floor. We'd
Right.
fall over. And then you have your fast twitcher, the things that help you jump, push hard, grab
Okay.
something fast, right?
Okay.
Power is really how fast you can do something. Strength is how, like, what's the heaviest you could do once. And so they're different things. And if you're really working on strength and power, those are fast twitch muscle fibers. If you're working on more like walking, Pilates, those are slow twitch muscle fibers. We have, when we're born, we have X percentage of each, and it depends on our genetics and our sex and our race, all of that. But they're very pliable in terms of training, meaning that if you're doing more fast twitch, you have some muscle fibers that could go either way that tend to become more fast twitch. If you're doing more slow twitch, your fast twitch tend to decrease. And then you have some of the muscle fibers that become more slow twitch. So the more you train slow, the better you'll be at being slow. And the more you train fast and powerful, the better you'll be at that. As you age, guess what happens, right? We
Yeah.
slow down. So
Yeah.
if you want to counteract the effects of aging, you've got to put in some strength and power moves, or you will
Yep.
lose it. And if you
Right.
just focus on the other, which I find so many people doing with, more walking and Pilates and that kind of stuff, they'll actually exacerbate the problem. So it doesn't
Okay.
mean don't do those things. It
Yep.
means add this to it.
Yep. I love that. So I got to get better at running on the beach.
Well, no, I think you need to do some real resistance training, likely.
Yeah.
And you could add some like beach sprints where you literally went out there and, went walking and then sprinted for 20 seconds, then walked and sprinted for 20 seconds, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Don't
Yeah.
have to do a ton of it. And it gets fun. I mean, it's horrible at first, like horrible,
Right.
but it gets a lot easier.
Got it. Yeah. Cool. And so I love the talk that you've shared with us about protein first. I think that's super cool. You have a podcast called Well Over 40, which
Well beyond 40.
Well Beyond 40, sorry.
That's okay.
But I love that name. I think it's great. And what are you seeing in the world right now as something that's hopeful?
There is so much great research coming out. So here's the thing. When you look at health and aging, and our healthcare system's a nightmare. Less than 7% of us are metabolically healthy. It's like, you look at the overweight and obesity stats, it's like you could go, oh my gosh. But then you look at what are the things that we can do to turn this all around and to get healthy and to age well. And the number one biggest lever that you can pull is exercise. So that's so cool because it's free.
Yeah.
It's free. I mean, you could do body weight exercises at home and you can do, walk sprints. There's so many different things you can do based on where you're starting. And, you just progress. So wherever you start's fine. Doesn't matter. And I think the really cool thing that's coming out now is all of this research that's being done showing that you can build muscle at any age. You can get stronger at any age. So it's never too late. It's like, it's never too soon. It's never too late.
I love
So I
it.
think that's what's really exciting is that we are going to move into a place where, and this just happened, Tricia, literally, I have a little elbow injury from pulling luggage and I had to go get a PRP shot in my elbow. So I go get the PRP shot. I go in the first time to the doctor. They put me on a scale. I'm like, that's weird. I've got an elbow issue, but okay. Then I go get my PRP shot. Then I come back and they're going to put me on the scale again. And I go, I'm just curious, why are you weighing me? What has this got to do with my elbow? And the girl's like perplexed too, because it's just, I'm just, in case we need to give you medication. I'm like, clearly this is a follow-up thing. You already have my weight. There's nothing to do. We're looking at your BMI. I'm like, clearly you can look at me and know, like, this is just silliness. In my perfect world, we will never go through that again. We will only get on a scale to find out what that weight's made up of. Because it's absolutely like I had to have another surgery last summer and, I had to keep getting on scales and I go, what are you looking for? Like, what is it you're looking for here? You can't tell anything by this number. You have no idea. Like, why are you doing this? So that's what I want to see. I want to see us go into an office and find out what your weight's made up of, find out what your VO2 max is, find out how strong you are, and start to really do the things that can turn our health around.
I love that.
That's
And
what I'm hopeful for.
I love that. So good. And a body composition scale, does that exist?
So it totally exists. They've been around forever. Not forever. They've been around for a good 25, 30 years. Now, here's the caveat. Like what I teach people to do is get a DEXA. And while you're working on shifting things, do that like every 6 months, but then get a bioimpedance scale for home and correlate it. The thing is, bioimpedance scales at home are not accurate like a DEXA is. However, they're relatively accurate. So what it allows you to do is monitor what's going on so you can see if things are going in the right direction. Are you bringing on more total body water, which is a good thing? Are you starting to lose body fat? Like, are things going in the right direction? And the cool thing with these scales is they can report right to your phone to a Bluetooth app. And what I like people to do is, if in my perfect world, you'd get up every morning, step on this bioimpedance scale, not look at it. It would report to your phone. And once a week, you take the average.
Oh, I like that. I like
Right?
that.
Because we get
You're
so
not
crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I teach people to stay away from the scale because it just backfires too often. So
I know. I mean, it's
yeah.
like you look at it and go, but wait a minute. You know, it's like, well, we had ordered Greek food for my son's birthday and everybody went up 2 pounds. I'm like, it was like total, like, it was like a salt hell in there.
Right.
So, you know, you just got to know that stuff. I always look at the average over the week and make sure, are we trending well? Because like, look at my husband, Tim, he puts on 27 pounds loses 27 pounds of fat and puts on 24 pounds of muscle. So his weight changes 3 pounds. He would not have known the degree of the shift if we just done a scale. How would he have known?
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Great info, JJ. As always, I'm learning a lot. Thank you.
Let's get some resistance training in.
It sounds good. I'm all about it.
So, promise?
I absolutely promise. I wouldn't cross you, JJ.
It'll be good for you. I
I
have a resistance training cheat sheet.
Okay.
I did a YouTube video on how to get started on a resistance training program. And then I have a resistance training cheat sheet
Okay.
that you can use. And literally it's like stuff you can do at home. You start with body weight. It's easy to do. And you could get a TRX machine. I don't know if you know what those are, the suspension trainers.
Okay.
They're fantastic. They're what I travel with.
Well, one of my classes it's with weights. Like we literally, everything is with weights. Like the leg movements are with weights. Everything is with weights. So I think helps.
Are they heavy weights where you feel like you've gotten to a point where you can't do another 1 or 2?
Yes, absolutely. Like,
and you're doing
they kick my ass.
20 to 30 reps. You're not doing 100
Yes.
reps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. And they did that specifically because people were looking for that, right? So they added the weight, the strength, whatever. So I'll do more of those, but I'd love to check out your video too. For people listening, what would you recommend a place for them to start? I think you have a protein something or other calculator.
Yeah, and I especially love this for your audience. So I created a protein calculator to help you figure out your ideal amount of protein, and then a 7-day protein challenge where you are eating protein first. And that's the shift. It's like, eat your protein first and just pay attention. How's my satiety? What's going on with my cravings? What's going on with my energy? And, you know, it's like, now that we've had enough people go through it, I've seen all of the comments. And the biggest 2 comments are, I'm not hungry and I don't have cravings.
Love it.
And I mean, talk about setting you free, right?
Yeah, I love that. Beautiful. Thank you for that. And this being the Heal Your Hunger show, JJ, what is your deepest hunger right now?
My deepest hunger, I really would say, and it's exciting now because, again, kind of floundering around for a couple of years, I am determined to change the way that we perceive aging. Ageism is real in this country, and I started buying into that narrative. And I really want to shift this whole idea into, what if you could step into the most powerful years of your life?
Amen.
Because I believe it's possible.
And that is absolutely possible. I'm living proof. You're living proof. So you heard it here, folks. Thanks, JJ. So great to see you. Thanks for being on the
Thank you.
show. If you're ready to get off the dieting roller coaster ride and finally make peace with food and with your body, talk to a Heal Your Hunger mentor about what steps you need to take based on your own history with food and weight. Go to healyourhunger.com and register for an emotional eating breakthrough session and see how fast you can experience real change. It's a complimentary evaluation, but there are limited spots available. So go to healyourhunger.com and register to speak with a mentor today.